Our next inductee started his circus career as a graduate of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Clown College. Soon he became the singing ringmaster, assistant performance director, and eventually the vice president of talent for Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus and Feld Entertainment. I'm speaking of Mr. Tim Holst. The sponsor today is the Feld family and Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, and speaking on his behalf is the current director of talent for Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, Mr. David Kiser.
Thank you, Chuck. In the January 20th, 1992 issue of the New Yorker magazine, the writer Fred Shapiro quoted a Western diplomat who told him about a visit that he had made to a small village on the edge of the Gobi Desert. There he was introduced to the senior member of the community and was invited into his home, or a gur, which is a nomadic herdsman tent that's made out of heavy felt and animal pelts. As the diplomat was asked to please take a seat and join the elderly gentleman in a cup of fermented milk tea served warm, the diplomat looked to the interpreter and he said, "Am I the first foreigner this gentleman has entertained?" The interpreter looked to the elder gentleman, spoke a few words in guttural Mongolian. The old man smiled. He got up and he went to a wooden chest next to his sleeping cot. And he pulled out a drawer and grabbed a little slip of paper and walked over. And as he put the piece of paper in this diplomat's hand, the interpreter said, "No, you are second." The gentleman looked down, and on that slip of paper it said, "Tim Holst, Vice President, Talent and Production, Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus." Chuck just stated, and many of us here know about Tim's career, that he started in Clown College in 1971, began touring with The Greatest Show on Earth in '72 as a clown. 1 year later, he auditioned and was given the position of singing ringmaster. He traveled for 4 years on both units of the circus as a singing ringmaster. When he retired and stepped out of that ring, so-called, and went into the management of the show. In 1977, he became assistant performance director. 1 year later, performance director, and that position he held for the next 9 years. From 1987 until his passing in 2009, Tim held the position that all of his other life experiences prepared him for, and that was Vice President of Talent and Production. These facts, I think a lot of people here already know, but what you may not know is how Tim was selected for the position. A position that was created for him, was defined by him, and ended after him. After the loss of Mr. Irvin Feld, Kenneth Feld, the now owner and chief executive of Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, realized he needed someone full-time who could travel the globe, who could find the talent, the one-of-a-kind, unique performers to make the success of the continuing Greatest Show on Earth. Kenneth said that his immediate choice was Tim Holst. Kenneth knew that Tim had an intimate knowledge of how Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus worked from his time at Clown College, his performing years, and then his experiences as performance director, where he had the opportunity to not only witness the circus artists and the performances on a daily basis, but also to interact with them on a personal level. Tim became their mentor, advisor, psychiatrist, parent, brother, and friend. He earned the trust of the performers by his honesty and his relationship with each individual person. Tim was fluent in Spanish, Swedish. He spoke passable Russian, Mandarin, French, and Portuguese. He was the ambassador to the world for Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, as well as the American Circus for many others. It was under Tim's watch that Ringling began making deals with China and the USSR, which were closed countries at that point, for performers here at the greatest show on earth. Tim was an integral part of breaking down Iron Curtain barriers, not only for circuses, but also for all cultural exchanges. As vice president, Tim was responsible for the careers and livelihoods of more than 3,000 people. As you all know, out of those 3,000 people, some of them fall in love, many of them marry, and today on our shows we have several children and even grandchildren of some of those people who met because of Tim Holst. Tim also worked closely with the producers, directors, and creative teams of each of the new shows to make sure that they highlighted each individual performer and act and elevated them, making them proud members of our circus family, truly members of, not just in name, but definition, greatest show on earth. I'd like to share with you a quote from Tim. A quote I think is indicative of his approach to his position in the circus and indeed his approach to life. Growing up amidst the cornfields of Illinois, I never dreamed of ever leaving the United States, let alone traveling all over the world. To have the opportunity to bring the finest circus acts in the world to the American public will always be a privilege for me. To Tim Holst, people were a privilege. Thank you.
People were a privilege, and another great attribute of Tim Holst was his family. Today I'd like to recognize in our front row over here a portion of his family.